Hi everyone, this is Laura. I want to start this video a little differently because I've been quiet for almost 3 weeks now, and I know some of you have noticed. I didn't disappear because I lost motivation or didn't care. I've been gone because I've been moving and traveling a lot, from New York to Morocco and Africa, back to New York, West Coast, New York, Paris, and now I'm in Singapore. Different time zones, different rhythms, and different version of myself when I travel in a city with a different pace. So I'm not saying this as an excuse, but when you cross time zones with like 6 hours of time difference over and over again, your body doesn't really know when to be sharp, when to rest, when to be creative, or when to shut down. So I've been thinking a lot this trip, like for the past 1 month since the beginning of 2026, and I kind of realigned with my own goal for the new year. And I had these substantial questions like, am I moving so fast? Is this what I have to do? Is this what I think I'm supposed to do? But is this really what I wanted? Questions like, during the jet lag, should I push through work when I'm super jet lagged, but should I keep pushing and pushing? And when exactly is the finish line? Questions like, am I optimizing too much? Am I over-optimizing for the right time? And questions like, am I doing this because it's aligned? Or is it because I'm good at doing hard things? Or I am expected by myself, my family, or my company that I have to do these stuff. So jet lag and everything make me feel super tired, but it made me slow down and think a lot. So today I want to talk about what I've been thinking for the past 1 month, my goal of 2026, and my perception of a new identity, my relationship with money and freedom. So I want to share with you the relationship between productivity and ease. I want to talk about my productive identity tension because I always thought myself as a really productive and athletic person, that my life has to keep going. But when at a certain threshold, you feel like keep moving forward is not an option and your body asks you to shut down or slow down, what should you do? I want to introduce this concept called reset in life, and how important reset is, because I've heard this quote so many times these days. It's about, if you want to be a really successful person, it's not about how smart you are, it's how calm you are and how strong and resilient you are in difficult times. And I think that's how reset concept will sneak in and help us with it. I also want to talk about my main goal for 2026, which is fluidity and rigidity. Why I want to live in a more fluid sense of life instead of being a non-zero sum living, which is called like black or white or 非黑即白. And there's like no place in the middle ground when you're like either this side or the other side of the polar. I also want to talk about my concept of how I reframe success and fulfillment, not just with what I do, but who I am. All right, I know you've been waiting for this video for a long time. Let's get started. So first, let's talk about the productivity identity tension, because many of us are tied to our productivity, to our own identity. And I think about this a lot, especially people who are like me, will say high performing, ambitious, or used to carrying responsibilities. And we slowly and gradually build an identity around being effective, being productive, and always doing more. We were praised for being self-disciplined, self-driven, for our structure, for pushing forward, for pushing through, for consistency. And honestly, those things matter. They got me here. But when you are consistently moving, consistently producing, consistently proving, you don't always notice the structure that once supported you started, that quietly boxed you in a little cage. And I felt that most strongly during this period of travel and jet lag, especially when I got sick, had like stuffy nose and lost my voice, woke up with migraine, or just, like heaviness and fog got into my head. I couldn't really cross everything off on my to-do list. And that made me feel unproductive, unsettled, almost like I couldn't recognize myself or be aligned with the identity I built within myself. It made me question who I am when I'm not executing, delivering, or performing at full capacity. And that doubt hit much harder than I expected. I start to lose clarity. I start to doubt myself a lot, and I start to have even more brain fog inside of myself, and found myself even more procrastinated in like starting a new task. So when I realized that was a problem, I start to talk to my coach again, and that's when I realized productivity start standing in for my self-worth. So that's why when my recovery slowed down and my body clearly needed ease instead of the workload, the intensity, the system I used to rely on feel like it's betraying me and completely stopped working. I felt really conflicted, as in my heart and my body are going separate ways. My body was giving me information that my mind don't want to hear. That's when I started to take a pause because I had to, and then I realized this. I realized when you're overly focused on completing daily tasks, it's surprisingly easy to lose the sight of a bigger picture. You can be incredibly busy and still avoiding the deeper questions. Whether you're moving in the right direction, whether the people surround you or the system you've been committed to are fully aligned long-term with you, and whether the effort you've been making is scattered or actually they're compounding towards your goal. I think that's why when I heard Naval Ravikant said, if you're going to make an important decision that will affect you for the next 2 years of your life, you should spend at least 1/5 or 1/4 of that time thinking before making this decision. So in the contrary, if you jump into this decision too fast, the constant execution trains us thinking as inefficiency or ineffectiveness. It's like choosing a career based on only what it looks good right now, like the title, the paycheck, the benefit that comes with the pays, without stopping to ask if you want to live inside like that role for the next decade. A full to-do list comes with anxiety. Maybe you can fulfill it, but it can also blind you to where you're really headed. And sometimes slowing down isn't falling behind, yet it's the only way to make sure that you're not. Second off, I want to share with you something personal with you, which is about being more fluid and less rigid. For 2026, one of my biggest intentions for this year is to learn how to be more fluid and less rigid, less, let's say, black and white, less all or nothing or zero sum. So what does fluid mean? What does rigid mean? You can start to explain it. You can start to understand it in its literal way. Fluid is like water, is like you're being flexible, you're being the flow, you can be spontaneous. Well, rigid means that you have to frame yourself in a box. You have to box yourself in, or else your system will feel like it's glitched. So for a long time, I lived with this internal equation. If I'm not pushing, I'm falling apart. If I'm not doing, I'm failing. If I'm not disciplined, I am lazy. I am a loser. If it's not hard, then it doesn't count. And that mindset worked, surprisingly, until it doesn't. It creates massive momentum. I push myself with a structure, but it also narrow myself within my range. And I've got this learned behavior that I start to equate my effort with my worth. So when I feel robust, when I feel healthy, everything works. But when I felt sick or I felt like a piece of shit, then I lost my own self-worth. The problem with rigidity is that I only function when life stays predictable in its own way. Not when you're traveling, not when you constantly change your time zone, but a very strict regime can only take you this far. The moment the plans change, the moment when there's a problem happen, virus pills show up where your body needs something different, the systems start to glitch. So I noticed that when my schedule broke, I felt like I am broken, dude. And this is not resilience. This is fragility disguised as discipline. So when everything depends on macromanagement or control, and even small disruptions can feel like a failure, a disaster, or even catastrophe. So I started to take rest in a more strategically way, not just to be more productive, but just to relax and see how I feel within myself when I rest. Because I realize life isn't a straight line. And it's not meant to be sprinted nonstop every step of the way. It's a long game with shifts, pauses, and a lot of reset and recalibration built in. Fluidity isn't about doing less or lowering standards. It's about adapting without collapsing. It's about you still stay in the motion, still in the game when the pace changes. I know I sound pretty firm right now. I'm trying to convince myself and trying to learn to be more fluid this year. And this is the kind of fluidity and this kind of sustainability I'm choosing to achieve as my goal for this year. And the third aspect, I know it could sound a little cliche, but I want to talk about how to love. So I think during this time, it has taught me about love. I used to grow up in the Hong Kong TVB culture. That taught me that love was mostly passion, intensity, chemistry, emotion, like let's keep going. And I used to be taught love is something that happens to you. So I did believe love is about black and white. If you can't fix this, you can't be my partner. Or I used to think love has to be dramatic. And once you get married, once you have kids, you will live happily after that. But when my life got slower down, I realized that love can be much deeper and much more powerful than that. Love can build, and love can also destroy. Love can happen between children and parents, between romantic partners, and between friends. It's not always soft, and it's not always dramatic. And sometimes love is very quiet, and sometimes love is hidden. It doesn't show. It's invisible. Love is steady, and love can be really demanding in a way that asks you to show up, even when it's inconvenient. And loving someone, especially in the long term, now I've been married for 6 years now, I realize loving someone is not just a feeling that your brain tells you. So when your brain is very used to someone, the chemistry in your brain start to change and rewire. Then I realized love is not a feeling, it's a practice. It's something you choose and you repeat daily, just like a habit, especially when the feeling might fade. This might be a very personal sharing, but I used to think love is about performance. Love is about like dressing up, looking so cute for your like fancy dates where like people are like liking your story and you're having all the memorable like anniversaries together. I thought love is about possession, performance. But now I think about it, love is about presence. It's about seeing each other clearly, staying honest, don't lie, and allowing both strength and vulnerability to exist at the same time. So when we consider what is a sustainable love, it's a type of love that does not burn fast, but it sustains. Love someone is about the relationship you have with yourself, the kind of love that you have a stable sense of core belief in yourself that gives you the grounding instead of making you feel chaotic, and love's supposed to make you feel the power instead of dependence. You might have heard the song, love is all that matters, because in the end of the day, love might be the thing that truly matters. Think about it, we make money, we keep every day going, we pay our bills, we get our checks, it's because we want to be supported, or we want to support the people that we love. Our parents, our children, our partners, and ourselves. Love exists not because of the intensity. It's not because it's romantic, but because it sustains. Love gives meaning to effort. Love makes discipline gentler. It might make you feel a little lazy, but true love to yourself is that even if you feel like shit today, you still keep yourself in the motion. You still keep going, you're still in the game, and you believe that in a few moments later, everything will get better. Love is what allow ambition to exist without emptiness. And I also realized that learning how to love someone well and how to learn yourself well, you need to have a lot of patience. Instead of how you train a dog, you shouldn't love with punishment, like giving yourself or your partner a lesson. So maybe the real growth isn't really about becoming stronger from the outside. Maybe it's about becoming more loving, more consistent, more sustainable, without losing yourself in the process.